Wednesday, June the 8th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East here with you, and more heat coming today. In fact, today and tomorrow, kind of the peak of this week's heat with some mid-90s in a lot of places and muggier conditions as well. You'll be able to notice the difference in terms of how it feels out there over the next couple of days. No longer that lower humidity type of air mass. It is indeed a muggier feel to the air, and you combine that with a slight increase in the temperatures. It's going to be pretty unpleasant out there during the afternoon hours here over the next couple of days. Now, yesterday we had some storms that began the day way up in Ontario, Canada, made a beeline south and wound up into the western parts of North Carolina. Let me show you the trail of storm reports with that complex, and it was in a weakening stage by the time it got into western North Carolina, but it was interesting to track that straight south from Ontario across Lake Erie into Cleveland early yesterday, and then dropping south from there, winding up in the western Carolinas. Now this morning, there's been another complex of storms, not as strong, but that's been moving into western parts of New York. That is taking more of an easterly trajectory and really shouldn't play a role in much of our region's weather. Look at the heat. It is another stifling morning of heat even back into parts of the Plain States. A number of spots in the Plains and the Midwest at 80 degrees or warmer this morning. And there'll be a lot of other spots again hitting triple digits back in the Mississippi Valley and the Plain States again today. There's the upper air chart. Notice that ridging kind of peaking over the Carolinas today. Tomorrow the ridge begins to break down just a bit, and that's going to allow a weak cold front to approach here over the upcoming weekend. So today it's going to be hot. It's going to be fairly muggy. Highs into the 90s. Probably heat index values approaching or maybe exceeding 100 at times this afternoon. Also the air quality in that code orange category across much of the region today. In terms of rain chances, I think a very limited chance of a couple of isolated thunderstorms popping up late this afternoon and this evening. But the chance of rain today in any one spot is quite small. But I will note that the SPC WRF here, it's kind of overdone convection on some recent days, but it is firing off a couple of decent storms in the Piedmont. This is a panel valid at 8 o'clock this evening. So we'll see. I think it's a little bit overdone, but it could be a couple of isolated late afternoon or evening storms. Tomorrow, isolated afternoon and evening storms, and it's still going to be hot. High is probably at least in the mid-90s, maybe some upper 90s over closer to the coast. And then I think with that cold front approaching from the north, at this time of year, you don't get a lot of dynamics with this front, but you have so much instability to work with. When you get even a weak front approaching, it's enough to help enhance the chance of scattered storms. So there's Friday, this is Saturday, and finally Sunday. I think each day featuring some scattered thunderstorms. And then it looks like that front will try to push just to the south of much of the region Monday, at least temporarily, and maybe a slightly cooler, slightly less muggy air mass by Monday, but won't last long. We'll see that front lifting back north here by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, bringing back in at least some more heat and humidity, although the peak of the heat next week may be off to our west. Tropics, our little Caribbean disturbance, not looking very healthy at all. In fact, it's lost most of its chance to develop. There's a look at the satellite imagery this morning. Nothing at all, even remotely organized. Now, I will note here, you have an old frontal boundary kind of draped here across the western parts of the Atlantic. And that's the kind of deal in June, oftentimes what you see the tail ends of these fronts try to develop, but no immediate sign of that taking place. But we'll keep watching. I do note the NAM still tries to spin this thing up into a weak system as it approaches the Carolina coast this weekend. But if you have beach plans for the weekend, nothing to be concerned about at the moment, but just something to maybe watch and see. Make sure we don't see any development from down there in the Caribbean. All right, that is it for this Wednesday edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.